Now we will be discussing about organic compound nomenclature. See, the number of organic compounds that you find is so large, it has become very difficult for anybody to remember all these compounds if they are given different types of names. Long back, the organic compounds were named depending upon the source from where it was obtained, from the place from where it was obtained, etc. All of us know formic acid, for example, the chemical in the bite of ants, because it is found there, it is called formica for ants and therefore formic acids. Very interesting things are there, names. Now, for example, barbiturate acid, the name is given for a sleeping drug, a sedative, a chemical given for sleep inducing. That was actually named by the person called Barbara, who used to sleep a lot. So, the name was from Barbara, they took it as barbiturate acid. So, all these names earlier were given like that. When the number started increasing tremendously, it was essential to have a very systematic naming system, so that anybody can name a compound, anybody can remember a compound, anybody can pass on the information of a compound without much difficulty. It is that at that point of time that IUPAC stepped in and formulated a set of rules which govern naming of organic compounds. It is called the IUPAC system of nomenclature of organic compounds. Whenever you see an organic compound, you will find that any organic compound's name has three distinct parts. One is the root name. Some things added before the root name are called prefixes. Some things added after the name are called suffixes. Root name is assigned based on the number of carbons in the longest chain containing the functional group. The suffixes actually are further classified as primary suffix and secondary suffix. Primary suffix tells us whether this selected chain has single bonds, double bonds or triple bonds. Accordingly, we add ane, ene, ine. This is followed by the secondary suffix. Secondary suffix is given to the functional group. The letters designated for a functional group. All of us know alcohol, OL is added, acid, oic acid is added, aldehyde it is Al, ketone it is ONE. So, this is the primary suffix and secondary suffix. So, we have talked about the longest chain containing the main functional group. If whether it has a single, double or triple bonds in that chain, the main functional group in it. All other things that are attached or located on the main chain are called locants, and all these things put together are written before the root name and it is called the prefix. So, prefix denotes all the locants located on the main chain which we have numbered. And because locants all belong to one category, anything that is written in prefix is written in alphabetic order. So, there is a very simple system for naming organic compounds. Now, we will illustrate certain cases. How do we name organic compounds? Before that, I would like to tell you that every organic compound can have functional groups. All of us have heard about functional groups. So, when an organic compound has more than one functional group, it is necessary for us to talk about a priority system for the nomenclature of functional groups. Because if there are two or more functional groups, you can only assign one as the main functional group, which will be the focus based on which we will be connecting the longest chain. So, for this there is a simple order of priority that you can see now. Just to remember, you can always use this simple clue that the number of oxygen is given priority and therefore, carboxylic group is given the first priority, followed by sulfonic acid, then acid anhydride, acid ester, acid halide, acid amide. This is then followed by cyanide, isocyanide, then aldehydes, ketones. Aldehyde, ketone both are carbonyl compounds. So, they are identical. Therefore, Aldehyde, because it starts with A, is given priority followed by ketones. Remember always that in all function in IUPAC nomenclatures, if when two identical things come, preference is given to the alphabetic order. So, aldehyde comes first followed by ketone, then you have got one oxygen alcohol, then a functional group that does not contain any oxygen, amines. This is followed by ene and ine. So, this is the simple order of priority, you can check it out. Easy to remember, think of the number of oxygens first. In the middle you have got cyanide, isocyanide, followed by aldehyde, ketone, alcohols, amines, ene and ine. Whenever you embark upon writing the name of an organic compound, what we do first is find out the main functional group in the compound. For example, in a compound like this, the main functional group is carboxylic group. So, that chain has to be numbered. Always put the number in such a manner that the main functional group gets the lower number. From right to left you can attempt, but the main functional group which is to be assigned as the secondary suffix must get the lower number. So, here it is carboxylic group. So, it is 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 5 and 6. Because there is a substituent here, we will go for this 5, 6. Now, the root chain is having 6 carbons. A 6 carbon system is to be called hex. Because in the main chain there is a double bond, you have to account for it. You have to write where the number for the double bond is going to come. Numbers should be separated by hyphen. So, it is starting at 3, so you write 3 ene. You omit the E of ene and instead you write the secondary suffix oic acid. So, we have talked about the root name, main functional group. Now, we are left with two things which are located on the main chain. Both of them are alkyl groups. When there are more than one alkyl groups, similar groups, go for alphabetic order. So, you have a 2 carbon ethyl and a 1 carbon methyl. So, E will be written first, ethyl. Where is the ethyl? At the 4th position, followed by at 5th position by methyl. So, this is the root name, this is the primary suffix, this is the secondary suffix. All other things written in the front are the locants or prefix. So, this is how you name an organic compound. Any organic compound can be easily named if you go systematically like this. Find out the main functional group, then start putting numbers in such a manner that the main functional group gets the lowest number, move to the longest part of the chain. Once you reach the end, you know the number of carbon that is there, that will be the root name carbon. After that, if there is a single bond only, it will be ene. If there is a double bond, ene. If there is a triple bond, ine. If ene, double bond and triple bond is there, you have to write ene and ine. Alphabetically, you write ene first, then ine. Instead of ene's E, you write the secondary suffix. That is the functional group's words. All other things on the main chain are called locants. They come as prefix. They have to be written in alphabetic order. Where they are, put their numbers. So, this is how you name an organic compound. So, if there are more than one functional groups also, find out the main functional group, accordingly put numbers. Now, we can also talk about compounds where there are more than one functional groups. Okay. Now, let us consider compounds where there are more than one functional groups. As I said earlier, find out the main functional group. In this example, you have an carboxylic group, you have an OH group, as a ene. Main priority is for the acid. So, that must get the lowest number. So, we put the number starting from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 6 carbon system should be called hex. Because there is a double bond, you have to add the letters E. You have to put the number 2. Add the letters, instead of E, you add the letters oic acid. Now, what is left? You are left with a methyl and OH. Now, this is not to be treated as a functional group. That means, you will not call it an all. What will you call it? If there is only one oxygen, you call it oxy. Because hydrogen is along with the oxygen, you call it hydroxy. Not an alcohol, but hydroxy. It has now become a locant. So, you have an hydroxy, you have a methyl. We know alphabetically H comes first. So, it is 4-hydroxy (3-methyl) hex 2-enoic acid. So, this is how you tackle organic compounds which have got more than one functional groups. Now, let us take certain interesting examples. If you have an aldehyde and a ketone, priority goes for aldehyde, so that it gets a lower number. Then put number starting from the aldehyde part. If you have a ketone and alcohol, priority goes for ketone. Alcohol will then be called hydroxy. If you have an acid and an ketone or an aldehyde, what do we do? An acid group, a ketone, so aldehyde and a ketone. Here, priority goes for the acid. So, do not think about anything else, just put numbers. This is a 5 carbon system. You will call it pent. There is only single bond. You will add the letters ane. Instead of E, you add the letters oic acid. What are we left with? We are now left with 2 double bond O. If it was only O, you would have called it oxy. When there was O and H, you called it hydroxy. What will you do for a double bond O? It was said that it must be called an oxo. So, you are going to write oxo. How many oxo? 2. So, you add the letters di. Where are they? They are at carbon atom 3 and 5. So, the name of the compound now becomes 3,5-dioxopentanoic acid. Another interesting case is this. Suppose you have a compound like this. There is an ene and an yne. Which will be given priority? They are similar. E and Y have the same number. From here it is 1, there it is 1. So, there is a clash. Who will win, E or Y? E. So, we start putting numbers like this. So, this compound will be an hex which has an ene, and at 5 it has an yne. So, this is another interesting example. Another interesting example is this. There are 2 OH groups. You have to put numbers 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So, you start numbering from this end. What will you call a 5 carbon system? Pent. Single bond, ane. Instead of E, you have to write OL. Now, there are 2 OL, what will you put? Di. Whenever it is di, you will have to add E. Then it will be like this. 2, 3 diol. 2, 3 diol. So, when do we retain E? When you find that there is di, then in that case you will have to retain E. So, this is how, where you will have to retain an E. So, whenever you are naming organic compounds, again I am reminding, find out the main functional group, put numbers in such a manner that the main functional group gets a lower number, complete the chain, find out the last carbon, that is the root name, see whether single, double, triple bond, add the letters A and E, etc. Then write the name of the functional group. Anything else on the chain is to be treated as a locant. On the main chain, it will be written in prefix, and they should be written only in the case of as a what? Priority based on their alphabetic order. Don't look at anything else. So, this is how you name any organic compound. It's a very easy method. However, there are cases where you have to be a bit careful, where we can go wrong. So, let me just take such examples now. So, what we have said so far is about the general thing. Now, we are going to talk about cases where we may make small mistakes by oversight. So, to prevent that, I am going to take a couple of examples where we will be talking about compounds of this nature. Now, look at this compound. You have an methyl and an ethyl. Both are from this end M methyl, this end it is ethyl. Both will be number 3. What do we do? Same thing. Give preference to the alphabetic order. This starts with M, this starts with E. So, you will start numbering like this. So, what will be the name of the compound? 3 ethyl, 4 methyl, 6 carbon system, and because it is single bond, hexane. Okay. This is how you will be naming these compounds. Suppose there are compounds where you will find specifically in the old naming system, you will find compounds of this nature or compounds of this nature. What must you do? Whenever it is given like this, always remember to expand it. What I meant by expanding is, think of this as CH2, CH3. This also you expand, and this will be like this. Then the naming will be easy. This compound, when you expand, it is, the chain will be this, longest chain will be this, because 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Don't treat it as 2 ethyl. 2 ethyl is wrong. Is wrong. You have to number it this as like that. So, it will be rewritten like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, correct name will be 3 methyl, 5 carbon, pentane. Similarly, we can rewrite this like this. So, the name of the compound will be 2, 2 dimethyl propane. So, this is how you tackle such kind of examples. If it is in bracket, expand it. If it is C2H5 C3, expand it. and then check.